sing along with it if you want. Gary, welcome to the Soul to Scene podcast. I'm Andy Cooper from RMS Motoring, and I'm joined today by Gary Riley.
Hello.
Bopping along there, and Ross Annett.
What is happening?
Not to be referred to as Gary Glitter.
No, definitely not.
Not again.
Not again.
No, I've passed all that.
Welcome back to the show. We've had a bit of a hiatus due to some holidays. All of us were away at various stages there, but we're back and many things have happened. One thing that has happened that none of us were at, which is a crying shame, was the Goodwood Festival of Speed. I don't know if you've seen any of the coverage on YouTube. Again, what an absolutely tremendous event. I went 6 or 7 years ago and been yearning to go back since. Watching the coverage this year, I just went ahead and booked accommodation for next year. It's just happening. It is just the most incredible thing. Even though one of the days this year was cancelled because of the weather. Did you see that? On the Saturday, it was
Is that the first cancellation in how many years? 27, 30 years?
Yeah, something like that.
That it started, basically?
Yeah. So, which I think you could deal with if you went on the Thursday morning and we're home the Sunday evening, you would still get 3 days. But if you were, as some people on the forum got hit with, they're only going there on the Saturday and Sunday, and then they're landing there on the Saturday.
This is why I stick to NEC and Classic Car Show. It's all inside.
Yeah, I know.
There is no such thing as weather permitting.
I like the Classic Car Show is excellent, but it's nothing compared to Goodwood, and the Classic Car Show is brilliant.
No. Goodwood's special.
So that just tells you how in how high esteem I hold it. Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, going up that hill in a hydrogen GR Yaris.
Seen some. So again, I was in Dubai when it was all happening, but some of the stuff was popping up, and obviously my news feed's not there, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," because I love Yarises.
Yeah, well, it just made me think I had one of them, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, he has." Of course, Rowan being a huge petrol head, I have one of these at home too. And I was like, I used to have one of them. You may have well heard me boring you about it. So
once or twice.
But yeah, so cool. Some epic. Did you see the Ioniq 6N crash?
The crash.
Yeah.
Oof, grim, straight into the bill. But just some amazing stuff. The McMurtry Sterling again.
What actually happened there? Was it looked like it was just going a straight line and
VTEC
plowed into it?
I don't know.
Didn't attempt to steer. I thought maybe a steering column went, or do they even have a steering column? I don't know.
I don't know, but it just went straight on and just, as you say, hit the VTEC, the battery VTEC, and
driver fell asleep or something.
Yeah, but and the electric stuff is normally, as the McMurtry shows us, is the quickest stuff up the hill. Magic Mike or Mad Mike, the New Zealand fit in the RX-7, he's just incredible, just sideways the whole way.
It can't be a year since the last Goodwood, and they took up that little, what do you call the McMurtry's?
Yeah, so it was up again.
What do you call the car again?
McMurtry Sperling. Yes.
Sperling.
Yeah, with the ground effect, so that which they have to. They can't take the racing line. Not that it's much of a racing line, because it's just Lord March's driveway, but it has to stay in the centre of the track, so it has good suction. And if it comes off the crown of the circuit, like at several times the pace of the other cars, sure, it could end up anywhere, but it's just so quick.
Bonkers.
Absolutely bonkers. So, I'm going to go next year. Can't wait. Book now for next year because, I went on to booking.com to book after the dates were released last week, and sort of people roughly knew that they were going to be, I think it's the 14th to the 16th of July, roughly around those dates, 2024. But booking.com was mostly sold out in like a half an hour radius already.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was I think at Airbnb or something then, and I was like humming in hand. It's like, right, free cancellation, that'll do me. Don't even know who's going with me in it. I'm just book it.
Yeah.
Get her booked. And then EasyJet don't release the flights, I think, until October time for Gatwick. So just waiting for that the next bit. But highly recommend it. And as I say, just watching it this year, it's like, no, I should be there. Slipped up this year. I'm going to make that happen next year. Actually, I think it's the 12th to the 14th because the Friday is the 12th that us Northern Irelanders will be.
You can never go on the 12th.
Will be off.
You're marching up and down roads, Andy.
You reckon?
Marching up Goodwood.
Marching up Lord March.
That could be your new traditional route.
Thanks very much. So, looking forward to that. What else has been going on with you guys? So, sort of some new vehicles, not for you, but for Gary and myself. So, Gary, keen to hear about a bit of EV ownership now that you've a few miles under your belt?
Well, my wife has females under her belt rather than me, and that's...
well, what have you had to listen to? Let me put it that
not
way.
Not metaphorically speaking.
I was just thinking...
What's the feedback?
Edit very, very quickly there, Andy.
What's the feedback been?
We've done 800 miles, 900 actually now, I think, since come back from holidays there. Yeah, really, really good. Like I've found myself actually, if you want to go to shop, something like that there, just jump in it rather than the M4 because it's just so effortless.
Yeah.
Just in up around. I'm like, as I've said many times, not a huge EV fan, quite a petrolhead dinosaur. And I just couldn't see myself ever owning one, but kind of coming around it a little bit. I don't think I could ever have one as my only car.
Yeah.
You have to have something in the garage maybe for the weekend, but certainly for daily use, it's smooth, effortless, easy to run. I only having to charge it once a week at home.
Yeah.
And everything else, it's well equipped. No complaints whatsoever.
And what about the infotainment? Has that been and the haptic stuff and all that? I know
it's all right. It's probably my only kind of gripe, and it could just be a personal thing. It is a bit sensitive, and like all Volkswagens now, everything's done on the touchscreen. So when you're driving along and you're trying to find the heater controls or something like that there, you're really having to kind of take your eye off the ball just to find it.
Yeah, they've been given a hard time, not all of the VAG.
I can understand why, but then my wife, like, she drives it every day. She's probably quicker at finding stuff now than I am. She just, you get muscle memory, you know where it is, so where to kind of find the buttons and the settings that you need. I'm not used to it that much yet, but yeah, other than that, it's all good. Like,
and is your ID4, is it rear drive, front drive? Is it all-wheel drive?
It's rear drive.
Rear drive, okay.
Yeah. Not that probably doesn't have enough power to really spin the wheels up or anything like that there, but it is brisk enough, I wouldn't say it's one of the faster EVs out there. Certainly not comparable to Tesla or the Jaguar that you picked up.
ID4, what about range then for the rear drive?
Range has been about, I think when we got it, it was 220, and then the weather has killed a bit recently, and it's dropped down to about 200. But for her needs and the type of mileage that we do and the type of commutes that we have, it's absolutely fine.
It's perfect. 200. 200 is perfectly usable.
Yeah. 200 kind of was the minimum in my head that I wanted. I wouldn't go for much less than that. But like in recent times, I have been reading about the new battery technology that they've announced over the last couple of weeks, which is meant to double the range. So I think that's going to be the next kind of revolution in EVs.
Look, we all like a bit of tech, and that's the sort of appeal. But I've been driving a twin turbo V8 daily now for a while. I filled it up yesterday, super unleaded, and the numbers very quickly clicked through my head. Unfortunately, they were too easy to calculate that I sort of annoyed myself. So I put, it was 91 quid, but 91 quid to fill it, which was very rough numbers, 90 quid to fill it, 60 litres, which is 13 gallons. And the trip, I had reset the trip. Why I had decided to reset the trip in a 4-litre twin turbo V8? Why they should they should code out the trip computers, code out the trip everything, so you can't work out what it costs to run, because that is just ridiculous. But say 90 quid, super, 60 litres, and 13 gallons, and 300 miles on the trip was what it was since it was the last fill, which works out as a pretty sobering 23 miles to the gallon, which for an AMG is really, really good.
Yeah.
But for something, I've never run anything daily like that is disgusting. Like the Lotus is doing 28 to the gallon.
Well, the M4 is doing 23 as well. So
is it really?
It's exactly the same.
Oh, flip, there you go.
And I have this thing now, maybe it's just perception, but if you had a diesel before and you had a quick petrol in the house, and with the cost of diesel out there, you're obviously the diesel is more economical, but it's worth that little bit of difference for the performance. Yeah. But if you've got an EV in the house and you're paying virtually nothing to run it, and then you've got a petrol and you're paying a fortune to run it, you've got this big chasm now kind of forming, and it's maybe becoming harder to justify mentally.
So here's the chasm, right? So I had scared myself into this before my arse sat the seat after I paid for the fuel, because I was like, right, 300 miles. If you had a Model 3, which will do about very rough man miles, 4 miles per kilowatt. Yeah. That's right, and that'd be 75 kilowatts it would cost. At 15p a kilowatt would be, and someone will tell me my maths is all wrong, but I think it was something in and around 12 quid for the same distance, for the same 300 miles that it cost me 90 that I had just pumped in. And And I was like, right, even if that man's up to 15 quid or something like that,
there's still a hell of a difference, isn't there?
There's still a hell of a difference. And even if 600 miles a month is 150 quid saving running the EV, plus I'm spending 33 pound a month on road tax, and it's free, so there's 180 quid. That's not a small amount of money to me.
So head versus heart thing, isn't it? Because the head is saying logically the EV makes sense, but the heart likes the noise of the V8, the feel of the V8. So
let me take this thought process further. So this is all about my daily it's a S205, so it's like the W205 shape, which is the sort of 2015 to 2022 shape of C-Class Mercedes estate car in dark blue, sort of undercover, except it's not, because every time you start it up, birds fly out of trees, and people fall over and people spill stuff over themselves and things like that. But it is actually quite a compromise car for it's quite hard. So it has adaptive dampers, and even in comfort, it's quite hard. Chris Rogan on the forum, he's actually selling his at the moment. I was like, Chris, do you find yours quite hard? He says it's never been out of comfort. But in the same breath, he says it's also been one of the only cars that I've managed to get comfortably sideways over 100 miles an hour.
Good man.
So my use case for that car is I have Bab, I have a dog, so could use for
no mention of the wife.
But taking the Bab, take it to the in-laws or whatever, outlaws, whatever it is, and that sort of stuff. So I am not using the C63 in the window that it's supposed to be used, so it's not getting revved out.
Yeah.
And even if you do rev it out after a couple of gears, you're in trouble. And this is a car that you can tell will be super stable at Autobahn plus speeds.
Yeah.
It's something that you could put on the cruise at 160 mile an hour in the Autobahn type of thing, and it has loads left afterwards. And I'm using it well outside that window. And see, between that and putting fuel in, I was like, however, I've had the car enough time now. See, when you get it up to driving it above the 7/10, that actually steers really, really well. So it's a fantastic front end. It's quite heavy. It's 1.8 ton, but steers really well. It goes exceptionally well. It is like it reminds me of the way it behaves is like an old GSI Vauxhall Carlton. Like it's an old, it has that old school experience, except loads more power and just obviously far more refined. But it is an absolute hooligan, and it sounds great. And although I'm like, right, this is costing me a lot more than I really should be spending on a daily driver, starting to get under my skin.
Oh, really?
Which is the problem that we get ourselves into, isn't it?
Smiles per mile.
And so I'm like, the odd time that I can enjoy it, I'm like, the more and more I drive it, the more and more I'm starting to appreciate what it's good at, rather than being an old miserly git going, it costs so much to run. Blah, blah, blah.
See, like, somebody asked me about my X5 because it's actually up for MOT now at the end of the month, which I'm not even talking about that. So I've almost 30,000 miles on it now, and again, in my BMW, talking about trip computers and that there's two. I think there's different ones that you can vary, but there's the A trip computer, which I've never reset since I've had it new, and then the B trip computer checks out, since your last fill and stuff like that there. But in the A trip computer, so in the 30,000 miles, I've averaged like 25 miles to the gallon on it.
Wait, but sure, that's a, 2 ton plus?
2 ton plus
family bus,
400 horsepower quad turbo family bus,
3 litre 4 so
yeah, 3 litre quad turbo.
Yeah,
but again, a fast modern petrol isn't going to be a kick in the arse off it per hour, efficiency wise, economy wise. So
no.
Buying a diesel or buying a diesel SUV certainly for economy isn't a thing. But where I don't have, again, I listen to Gary talk and even you as well in the last few podcasts where you can see that EVs are making sense, and I've always been of the opinion that EVs do make sense. They make perfect sense to me. If I could find the right one that ticks the boxes that I need. And the boxes I need right now is something that can tow. It's something that I can put, all of us in. We were just back from holidays there, and my boot was full, like literally full to capacity with the suitcases out there for me, the missus, and 3 kids. And there's not very much else I could get, barring like a transit van or something like that there, like a larger transit van that's going to kind of fit the needs that I need right now.
Do you know what conversation we haven't had with you, Ross? So, right, you're a BMW man, clearly. You've got an E46 M3. You don't know where I'm going with this at all, do you? Like,
no idea.
In your face, the fear and the tan, by the way.
Thank you very much.
You've got E46 M3. You've got a couple of big X cars in the household. Well, the obvious, and you're a man to carry this off, because I've seen you in your swimming shorts.
It's a mini.
No. There's only one thing, and I can see you in it, and I couldn't see many people in it. You have to be thinking of the big IX.
Absolutely, 100% not. 100% not.
I could see you in one.
Do you know something?
Do you know what? It's all you.
I hate to sort of say this here. There's a couple have passed me, and they're not as bad looking as they were.
No. Just don't.
But
listeners to the Soul the Scene podcast, mark my words. Ross,
new host next time.
I just called in for a wee service, and do you know what they gave me as a demonstrator? And do you know what I come home with?
An IX. Do you know something? The thing that puts me off. Do you remember there was a few podcasts ago we were talking about Davey and Procar had one, and he was up valeting, prepping it. He was doing, he was ceramic coating it for the customer before it, and it was this kind of, the colour actually was really nice. It was like a silver stony grey with a flip in it. It was the M60. It was everything else. It was like 5,500 horsepower. It was everything they do, but the price tag was fucking ludicrous. By the time this customer had this car, and with only a little bit of spec,
6 figures, was it?
Yeah, it was like 130,000 pounds.
It's the BMW way now, isn't it?
It's
all gonna got
ridiculous.
Well,
absolutely ridiculous.
What money is it to get yourself into? Well, they don't do an M50 anymore.
Don't do that. So
M40, X5. Then what money would get you into one of those?
Bavarian are basically, they're trying to take my M50 off me because it's low mileage. It's really, really well spec'd. For me to change into anything similar to what I'm driving at the minute is going to be 100 grand plus, and twice the monthly rental at least what I'm paying at the minute.
So the petrol cars are, So in fairness, the petrol cars aren't far behind what the EV price is.
Do you know something? They're really not at that kind of at that kind of thing. But then it comes down to the economy. It comes down to everything else, and it really is just. It's at the point now where I have looked at changing cars, but the price of a new car at the minute, they're simply not worth it.
Absolutely frightening.
They're like a Defender. I had looked at one of the new Defenders, and it was the P400, whatever it was. It was the 7-seater, which it's not that you need the 7-seaters, but you want the 7-seater because it gives you the bigger, load area in the back and that there. And with very little spec, don't get me wrong, they come really well loaded as they are, but by the time you put a few things on to kind of personalise it, you're over 100 grand for a Defender.
Do you know what? I did a video review of new 90 Defender, except I never got round. I have all the footage that's on the laptop. Never got round to actually edit it and publish it on YouTube. So you'll have to take my word for it. However, apart from the fact that it was totally impractical as a family car, because I had to put the baby seat through the boot or something like that.
Was it the 3-door one?
Yeah. So the 90's the 3-door. But apart from that, a lovely thing.
Fantastic. I love them. And again, just back from Dubai, there's loads of them. They're actually starting to take over. So a lot of the Emiratis.
And I shouldn't love it, by the way, but I really do.
Yeah. The Mercedes G-Wagon was the big thing over there for years and years and years. And now we're seeing more and more. And I have to say, the one thing I love about Dubai is 99% of stuff is petrol. Diesels for lorries only. There's a few nutters in Dubai are driving Teslas for whatever crazy reason.
Just to be different, there's no reason.
Just to be different. They've petrol's 40 pence a litre over there, and they're actually complaining that petrol has went up to 40 pence a litre. It was like 10 or 15 pence a litre for years and years and years, and it's more than double in price, and they're kicking off, and they're giving out about everything.
I really want to know what they pay per kilowatt hour.
Who cares? At 40p a litre.
All them solar panels I have.
Yeah.
You could fill your C63 over there, Andy, for about 15 quid.
Fantastic. And with like
Well,
117 run.
Yeah.
if you can't get cheap petrol out in the Arab states, where are you going to get it?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, so loads of new Defenders, the big V8 ones, and you can hear them because, again, you know, the custom exhaust and everything on them look fantastic, sound fantastic, but the price of them is horrendous.
Unbelievable. Well, watch the space. We'll see if
definitely no IXs.
You see, and that's what I'm saying about. Well, I have a car that clearly I know is too expensive to run, but I'm starting to like it, and that's the problem with. If all our purchases were logical, sure, we wouldn't have a forum. We wouldn't care.
No,
you know, this is clearly a problem.
Identical cars.
That
economic little boxes to get you made to be.
Exactly. Like, this is a problem that we all have, and we'll all have it forever.
It'd be like,
clearly.
I've seen Kevin and Perry, where it was everybody in the family estate, everybody had Ford Focuses.
Yeah. Or was it Harry Potter? Everyone had Vauxhall Cavaliers, and then the time it jumped up 10 years, and they all had Vectras.
Yeah.
Which were a worse replacement of the Cavalier. Anyway.
Good towing car. I think towing could be the issue here for you, really, isn't it? Because that's the kind of the primary thing that you will not find an EV that tows well.
It's the EV Achilles heel, really, isn't it?
What about a hybrid?
But again, well, just something I hadn't really looked at the hybrids. They weren't really appearing on the radar, so they weren't. The only hybrid I had experience of, and I really, really wanted to like it, was before I got. Let me see, what did I get? Was it after the Jag? It was either after the Jag or just before it. I had looked at the Volvo T8, which was the hybrid one.
XC90.
XC90.
Yep.
Beautiful. Loved everything about it. Loved how it looked. Loved how it drove. It was on the air suspension. It was on the big wheels. Such a well thought out interior. Everything was fantastic about it, apart from a pissy 4-cylinder engine.
Just gutless or uninspiring.
Well, really uninspiring, and was heavily reliant on the electric motor, the hybrid part of it, to bring it up to the 400 horsepower. It didn't feel like it was 400 horsepower. It didn't drive like it, but that's because it was the gutless 4-cylinder engine which was really, really letting it down. And I think that's kind of my issue with hybrids is like, you know we can make smaller engine cars more and more powerful.
Yeah.
But when you're wringing the guts out of it, excuse me, to get some enjoyment, you know, there's something that I really like about the smoothness of a 5 or 6 cylinder engine. You know, the Ford 5-cylinder engine sound fantastic. The smoothness of the BMW 6-cylinder, for me, and it could just be the thing that you come to kind of appreciate about that kind of lazy power delivery. But when there's a smaller engine having to work harder to do the same work, or to give it even more performance, for me it's kind of losing part of what makes those kind of cars appealing. But yeah, it's the tone is the issue for me at the minute.
Well, this is a good point, right? So my S25 C63 is 4-litre V8. The previous car was 6.2, normally aspirated. Right, thank God I haven't been running it, because that would be seriously alcoholic. But the new car is 4-cylinder, and I think it's 4-cylinder turbo and likely, electric motor. Just having a read there, so it's plug-in hybrid.
Wow.
You know, and it's just the way things are going.
Look, it's the way, like, with emissions rules. That's why the 50D engine's not made anymore anyway, because of the emissions and everything else that they need to do. Times are moving on, and they are changing, but
that's why we don't get I don't think we get a new M3, Gary. Do you know that the new M3 M4 is manual?
I don't
think you can get a manual in it.
I think you can, actually. In America, maybe, or one of the other states.
Exactly. So you can get it in the US, but you can't get it here. Yes, it's because of emissions.
Evo tested one, but they had to go to San Francisco to do the road test of a manual one.
Yep, I read that. That's where I'm getting my... like yourself, read Evo magazine. I read. Let's just pull this out of my arse. I've just read it from somewhere else and regurgitated it. We're going to change gears here, or should I say, not change gears, because we always love talking about EVs. I'm sorry, but have you seen the Caterham Project V or Project 5?
As of 10 seconds ago, yes.
Yeah. So this is a proper full-bodied vehicle from Caterham, and it's going to be electric, and it looks awesome. We'll post a picture in the show notes, but there was an embargo up until very recently on this. I think it was on the front cover of Evo magazine, and it's quite striking looking. It has sort of baby supercar looks. It's more. Is it maybe more? It's not quite Lotus looks. It's more.
As soon as I saw it, Rocco had put a post up on the forum, and as soon as I saw it, to me it just looked like Porsche Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got from it. It was like
sort of bubbly look at the front
side angle,
yeah.
And it was just Porsche Cayman, which is no bad thing. I think the Cayman GT4s are absolutely beautiful car.
Yeah, so, I think the front's quite Porsche-like, and then the side definitely there's a few McLaren hints there and a couple of other cars. But like, if you'd said to me that's a Caterham and I didn't have the visibility here of the number plate in the front of the badge, I wouldn't have a clue, because I've never known them to build anything like that.
No, so they've been building the sort of Lotus 7 style cars for forever, and this is just a total departure for them. But take a look; it looks incredible. It's a coupe. It's a proper coupe. It can be 2-seater or 2+2. It has what looks like a reasonable amount of refinement inside. I don't know if these are all renders or something like that, but like looking at the seats, like Alcantara seats and Apple CarPlay and AC and all sorts of stuff that they're not used to doing at Caterham. And it's electric, so you've got a 55 kilowatt hour battery, 250 miles range, 140 mile an hour flat out, 4.5 seconds or less to 60. I think it's rear wheel drive, but most importantly, I think now this is very, very heavy for a Caterham, 1190 kilos they're saying, but super light
compared to modern stuff, and especially considering there's a battery in there. It's pretty good. Like 1190 or 1200 I think is equivalent to an EK Civic.
Yeah,
they were around that.
So it's superbly light. I think cost wise they say starting from under 80,000. Hard to know in the current environment, because all the manufacturers are just putting price increases through, so maybe when that comes to market it'll be more than that, but certainly very interesting. And not the pie in the sky Tesla Roadster, 200 grand, and you'll get it maybe
it's very interesting looking, and to me, as you say, it's got that junior supercar look in the same way that the Emira has.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's what really appeals to me. And obviously this is designed as well as something that you could do track days in. Well, if you looking at the charge time, so they're saying that you'll get 20 to 80% charge in 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Now, I doubt you're going to do that with a 3-pin plug down at Kirkuson, but it's maybe going to charge at 350 kilowatt or something like that to do that. So you could charge it up between runs, I guess, but also something even really, really cool to daily as well. That I'll say it. It's an EV that looks cool, because you maybe think it's going to be light as well, so it's probably going to be drive.
It's really the thing that was the 2+1, so it's a 3-seater. That's the bit that I'm kind of most interested in seeing how they do it.
Yeah,
because it says 2+2 is available as an option. So I wonder, is that McLaren style setup? Where it was one person sitting slightly further back
in the middle.
In the middle.
Pictures, no.
Well, in the McLaren, it's the other way around, isn't it? The driver sits forward, and the two passengers sit behind your shoulders.
Yeah. When you see something like this, you kind of think like Tesla really missed a beat by not getting that sports car out. That the 2-door they were going to build.
Well, that's it. You don't know what Elon Musk's too busy changing Twitter to X.
Have you seen though that there's a guy on Instagram called Cyber Hooligan? Have you seen him or
no?
It's actually fantastic. So he's building his own Tesla Roadster. Had his own Tesla Model 3 Performance and bought a written off one, and has basically hand fabricated this shell. He's got all the performance. Give it a look and follow, because what he's doing with it is like the work level he's putting in stuff is phenomenal.
Yeah, funnily enough, sort of segue to Tesla. Tesla are going to facelift the Model 3 and the Model Y next year. Project Highland, it's called. But new headlight design and new tail light design and new back end design, but still that sort of faceless type of. They could have went far more.
Yeah, do you know, it's Tesla really have innovated this whole market. Like, when people talk about an EV car, Tesla's the first name and brand that comes to mind, and I think this is where they're probably missing an opportunity, where they're making it too soft and too faceless and too, everyone blended into the same car. It really is. It's setting up almost where you can hire cars and you don't own them. Like, it's literally a Tesla in the parking lot and you just go and pick up whatever one is there and fully charged and take it home with you. Yeah. It's all kind of going down that route.
This is much more like the thing. So there's actually a superb YouTube video that we're now looking at with some absolutely stunning race seats in this thing. But this, so this a 2+1, as you say. So the rear passenger sits in the middle.
Yeah, so it's not going down the McLaren F1 or T50 route where you've got the single driver in the middle and then 2 seats offset. It looks like there actually is 2 normal front seats but a central headrest in the back. So it's in the +2 configuration. They just add another space in the back somehow.
Yeah. Oh, call back to Goodwood there, by the way. Dario Franchitti driving the T50 up the hill.
I saw it. The noise.
The noise.
The noise is incredible.
Unbelievable. See, that's what we're all about, the noise. This won't have the noise, in fairness, but it is very, very interesting. We need to see stuff like this because really, we're talking about EVs all the time, but to be honest, the type of EVs that we have are daily drivers, the kind of boring stuff that do A to B, and we're far more interested. It's the reason why you have the M4, it's the reason why you have an M3, the reason I have the Lotus. But this Caterham is interesting because it sort of lights the fire for vehicle enthusiasts, even though it may not be of the piston head variety.
Yeah, and again, it follows on where, there's, again, a lot of podcasts and different things that we listen to where people think that EV is going to be a passing, a passing fad almost, where they think hydrogen and stuff like that is going to be more popular. But when you see that all these companies, the likes of Caterham, who you would never in a million years would have imagined would be, following down the EV route. Yeah. I think it's very clear to see that really the days of internal combustion engines really are.
Well, they have to survive. They have to get with the times. The only sad thing about this here, as fantastic as it looks, we're sitting here watching this video and it's really incredible inside and out. The Caterham became known for the company to go to if you want to build it yourself.
Yeah,
buy the kit. Build the car, and even if you don't build it yourself, you can work on it and tinker at it. This is obviously very removed from that.
You clip the 2 Duracells in at the end, and away you go.
Get your iPhone charger.
Absolutely.
It's totally a different direction for the company. I can't imagine there'll be any kind of tinkering at one of these. It looks like a junior supercar, and will probably cost you if you start tinkering at one.
Yeah, well, like the whole modification thing with an EV, like really, what can you do at the moment? The aftermarket it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Apart from some sort of wee plug-in bits and pieces.
That's actually something that's interesting because when you look at us growing up over the years, I can certainly remember when we first started driving, and boys coming from the country, our first port of call was make your way down the Ormer Road and go and see the wee fat boy Davy from Procar. But that's where
in trouble.
But we were buying things as diverse as Lawrence Springs, as wheels, as LED washer jets, as every passing fad that was going, we were picking them up. You built a forum off the back of car modifications.
100%.
Of people shooting cars. What are they, like? It's going to be overclocking for like you do your PCs. Is it? What can we be doing with?
Well, you look at Big Pete's Tesla. You can still do a bit. You can still lower them, change the wheels, add a bit of kit. But certainly, there's no exhaust mods. There's no engine mods. If you are lowering it, imagine it'll take a lot more thought than just throwing in a set of springs now because of the weight of batteries and where the centre of gravity is. You might have a detrimental impact.
I think the barrier to entry is much higher at the moment. Unless a whole scene appears with it, but certainly at the moment there doesn't seem to be that. Like, not only that do EVs driving past, there's not going to be kids flocking around like there would be a Ferrari or something like that. But
look, I think a modification market will go down the route that France did 20 years ago, where you couldn't tune an engine because of legislation, but you could do whatever you want for body kits, wheels, all that there, but just not touch anything mechanical on the car.
The only positive point is that this could lead to the end or the death knell for Reiki diesels.
Yeah, well, that's no bad thing.
Or Reiki EV instead.
Reiki EV.
Well, like Reiki diesels, I don't understand the 306 thing because 306D turbos, for example, are worth so much money. It would be far better to go and buy a GTI 6, for example, which is actually a really good car.
Really good car.
Same sort of money as a. But
you know what? Something becomes so popular, and then years later they try and create something new to emulate it. So you've got the thing in your van that does all the engine noises and all there. So maybe in 50 years you'll buy an EV and you buy a smoke generator on the back of it.
Well, does your sound generator in your van do like a poo diesel?
You literally can put, the guys who were putting them on were saying that some EV cars, they are putting them onto it just to give them an engine noise, fake as it is.
There you go. Download Reek Software 2.1.
Well, like that's all being discussed. What noise should EVs make noise? Should EVs have automatic or manual gearboxes? That sort of stuff. To try and
bring. Wasn't the Porsche? Didn't the Porsche have a 2-speed gearbox in there?
Yes, it has a 2, but it's not.
Yes,
not a
first into second.
And a stir the porridge proper type of box. It was just 2-speed on the back axle or something, something like that.
It's a tricky one because the question of noise is like it's one of the main downsides of an EV. I guess if you're a car enthusiast and you're thinking about one, it's always going to be effect noise. That it has to be synthetic for it to make any sense. But if you're an enthusiast, you probably don't want a synthetic noise. So it's catch-22.
I'm going to switch gears again because. We love the noise of cars, so I'm thinking about the Supercar Sunday that's on this weekend.
Oh, yes.
It's actually called the Supercar Extravaganza now because it is over 2 days and it has been for a while. But this is making me think, well, like this is actually what we're all really about, and it's just certainly like poster cars, Astons, Lambos, Ferraris, that sort of stuff. All that stuff is going to the Northwest 200 pits on Saturday and on Sunday as well this week down at Bishop's Court, so I would highly recommend it. I am taking the Lotus, so you'll see me there on track. I'll actually also be on the mic talking to some drivers. I have a sneaky peek at some of the stuff that's coming, which I don't know if I'm allowed to share or not, but I'm going to sort of give you an idea. Anyway, Ross is giving me flipping share it anyway. Who cares? No one listens to this.
It's only Darren at Apex.
I'll
sort Darren out. Don't worry about that.
So I'll give you a rough idea, but like Murcielago 720S, GTRs, Mustangs, Aventadors, GT2s and GT3s, the Giulia Quadrifoglio, but the GTA-M version.
Any Carltons?
No GSI Carltons, or I think you get a diesel Carlton actually as well, couldn't you? Aventador R8. A 765 LT, some really awesome Fezes, SF90s, 488 GTB, 812s, F12s, M5s, Hurricanes, Aventadors, as I said.
You name it basically. Who's who of supercars?
All sorts of stuff. They have, I think, well over 100 cars booked, and there'll be guys turning up on the day, so they're doing passenger runs. It's all for charity. It's all for the air ambulance. It's all for a great cause. So it's...
Yeah, again, I was speaking to a few of the guys who I know are going down to it, and a few of the guys who are doing the passenger runs. They're all really looking forward to it because it really is. It's an opportunity for those cars to get used to 7 or 8 tenths of their ability legally because they're going to do it. The thing, do you remember last year though, Andy, we heard cars going backwards and forwards. Those new Ferraris, the petrol particulate filter, I think we spoke to it after the time. We certainly spoke to it on the day. How quiet they were going past.
Yeah.
Like it was the most disappointing thing about it because some of these here were like £250,000 epic supercars that were as quiet as mice going down. They were going down at warp speed, but it's again, we all talk about the sounds, we all talk about this, that and the other. I love when Matt Watson from Carwow does his, rev up. Every car is soft limited.
Yeah.
And the PPFs have killed the sound out of nice cars.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so fun of last year, so I was out in an SF90 last year and did 168 down the straight. That's mental. And there was loads more in it.
Loads more in it.
So the sort of stuff that's there is just absolutely incredible. But the other thing is, this is all for the air ambulance. So I think that Bishop's Court's been supplied to run the event, so as much of what is taken at the gate and all the rest,
it's all been given to it.
Yeah, and I think a charity that costs costs £5,000-6,000 a day
to run that thing.
To in terms of fundraising targets to run the air ambulance, and certainly you read some of the stories about the effect that it has had on families' lives. Like, it is just an essential service. So
absolutely.
So we really can't do enough to support them. So the supercars is only part of it. Go for the supercars, but also go there to support the air ambulance, which we're 100% behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to take a spin down on the Sunday. Didn't get last year, we went the year before, and I remember going into Bishop's Court and standing at the entrance, and a few of the supercars started pulling in, and I thought, I'll snap a few pics. And then there was another one, another. This went on. I couldn't believe the sheer volume of supercars that appeared there.
Yeah. And
then obviously on like a static show, you get to listen to them hunting around the track and hearing the V8s and the V12s, a full chat.
Well, look, as excited as we are to see the cars, I know now, because I'm bringing mine along with my pretend supercar along with the real ones, but you can see the owners are just as excited as well about getting people out to see it, and
absolutely.
It's and there to support the air ambulance, which is just such an important thing. It really is, and it's not funded in any other way apart from pure donations.
Yep,
it's not
pure donations,
government supported, and like that. So we need to do it. People, we need to get out there.
They had a very good figure last year and the year before, so hopefully top it again.
Yeah, let's just hope we get the weather.
Yep.
You'll certainly see the Lotus out on track.
Part of whilst we obviously do want good weather, a wee skiffle of rain wouldn't be the worst thing, because seeing some of them squirting it and giving it a bit of beans going sideways.
Bit of sideways action.
A bit of sideways action.
Might be a bit of sideways action could be available.
Do you know something you're talking about? So again, my YouTube is full of Nürburgring videos, Nürburgring crashes and things and whatever else, and it keeps coming up every now and then. Video of you drifting, going up the corner in the Nürburgring.
Oh, in the E335Ds.
Yeah, it keeps flashes up my thing every now and then. And do you know something? There's
I couldn't find that video if you asked me to, because it's buried in a montage of.
It's buried in a montage, and I said, and I couldn't tell you what one was in. But I was watching something last night. I was footing around the kitchen doing whatever else, and the TV was on the background. I was like, "Fuck, there's Cooper!" But
foot of the rack.
There's nothing like a wee bit of a blip.
I know. They sort of start to frown on that. The Nürburgring now, they're a lot stricter.
Tell me, so how easy does the Lotus go out?
Absolutely fine. It has a mechanical diff.
Perfect.
So
you can feather it and you can play with it.
Oh yeah, totally. And it's because it's supercharged and all the rest. It makes it really easy to
just very linear.
Yeah. Because it's mid-engine, does make it a wee bit more snappy.
But a bit short wheelbase too, haven't they?
Yeah.
Compared to some cars.
But to be honest, it's fairly controllable.
Yeah, it's controllable.
Yeah. So no, should we? The other thing that blue monster, the C63, it would just.
I was going to say, take out the big long Merc, and it probably feels like you've got about a fortnight to catch it.
It's just a huge pendulum of the thing, and it would pull the back tires off itself in a lap.
Yeah,
no problem. It would be a smoke monster.
Wow.
So it's just made for it. Like, it's just great crack. But anyway, sure, we'll see what happens. We'll all be very sensible,
as always.
So looking forward to that. Speaking of shows, I did enjoy getting to the Eurotreffen show.
Yeah,
that the Club GTI ran.
Phenomenal again.
4 or 5 weeks ago now. But again, I put the car in the show. The first time I put the car in, and one thing I forgot about shows, and like, I don't like cleaning cars at the best of times, right? But I was parked up beside this immaculate Mark II from the south, and I'm like, and this guy just is mint away. And I had washed the car before. I had made a semblance of an effort.
You had.
Don't get me wrong.
You had. The car was looking more than presentable.
And he was out, and I was like, I have a jar of your quick detailer in the boot here, and a couple of microfibers, and I'm like, and I have glass cleaner. It's like, right, I'm gonna clean this thing. And I started cleaning, and see, when you see everyone else at it too, and there's people having a bit of chat and all the rest, and I'm like, actually, this takes me back 20 years to doing shows, and and why we love them. Everyone's just into the same thing and having a bit of crack, and it doesn't matter what you have or what you're there in, or I was drooling around Nigel's Club Sport, which I couldn't remember the name of in the last
We got
podcast.
slated. You and I got slated. People were screaming, "It's a fucking Club Sport."
Yeah.
GTI.
Well, TCR I'd mentioned, but the Club Sport was lovely. Those wing back seats and all that. That was a beautiful car, but a fantastic event by those guys. There's also the JPCC NI show.
That's on this weekend as well.
In the Titanic Exhibition Centre. So
Is that all weekend?
it's on the Sunday.
Sunday just.
It's going to be
So if you wanted to see both, you could go and see
You
the
could do it, yeah. You could.
You could go to the supercars in Port Rush, or at the Northwest 200 pits between Port Rush and Port Stewart on Saturday. I think they're there between 10 and 2, or go to Bishop's Court 10 o'clock on Sunday. But yes, you could do two. You could do both. You could go to Belfast for a couple of hours, then you come to Bishop's Court for a couple of hours, or vice versa.
Yeah.
You could probably do it the other way around. Actually, be the way to go to the Bishop's Court first. So it's actually a pretty good weekend for
Spot for choice.
Yeah, spoiler for choice on the old show front. So that's this weekend's plans.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Lotus Elise. Red 220. My dad took a stock at his place recently, so decided on Sunday past there I would take it for a spin. Have never been in an Elise before, or an Exige, or I think any kind of Lotus.
Never my Exige or
No,
my Evora,
I was at an event that you were at as well, but I think I was with Phil in his Alpha. And we were behind you.
Yeah.
Watched you squirming your way up the road. But yeah, no, never actually sat in it. Never been in any Elise, but obviously, like, if you're into cars, their reputation, like, you don't have to say anything about them really, they're so well known. So no, I went up to my folks, saw the car set, and just said, have to take that for a spin. I've never been in one, so quite revvy. It took a while to get kind of acclimatized to, when you've, like, even just climbing in and out of it. And I've been used to an M4 for the last while, but to get spin up the road, kind of good mixture of straight A roads, and then on the B road, which was really nice and twisty and smooth, and then back on the A road. Really, really impressed with it. Quite raw and noisy. Like, obviously, I couldn't imagine my age now living with one as a daily. I don't know who would live with one as a daily, but as a weekend car, I'm sure it would be a tremendous fun. And that was a 220, so I can only imagine what the higher power ones are like. They get revved out really well, plenty of poke in it. I can imagine, like, as a track car, they must be fantastic.
Yeah, they're so light.
Yeah.
And so nimble.
Well, that's the feeling. It felt so planted in the road, yet so direct and sharp. Every movement was just felt so, like, it reacted so quick to absolutely everything. And over the last few years, I haven't driven anything that light. Like, I can't even remember the last time I had a car that light, full stop. But everything I've been driving has been probably quite heavy, and medium-sized cars and turbocharged and all there. So it was very different, but enjoyable.
Yeah, so you had the first experience of climbing over the monster sill.
The monster sill,
Was,
and then
was
also
the roof on when you got in?
the roof was on. It had rained all night, so there was a big puddle kind of sagging in the middle of the roof, and I thought as soon as I take off a bit, yes, it's going to come in the side and suck me, but thankfully it didn't. Also, you've got that kind of there's a lock for the door, but it's like a big kind of hinge thing that pokes out.
Yeah,
and I whacked my arm off that. That was really sore.
Ooh.
But that's Lotus life. I assume if you buy one of those, you know what you're getting.
Look, you just get used to hopping in. See, with the roof off, it's a lot better to get easier to get into. Sure. But obviously,
get in was actually okay. It was getting out. What's the problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to
trying to maneuver. Does the head go first or does the leg go first?
Where do I put my hand here to support my body weight, as I have to explode myself literally out onto the pavement? And I remember, everyone getting in and out of the Exige, if they weren't used to it, they're
dinging something somewhere.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, it's like a rite of passage hopping into one now. Chris TII in RMS has got a lovely yellow final edition one. He traded in his
got rid of his 3-wheeler.
His 3-wheeler Morgan is away, and so that's an S3 Gary that you have. So so one of the later cars, I think they were sort of 20. Was it? When did they come out? 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah, quite fresh looking, not like the first series ones.
Yeah,
it just has enough little aesthetic touches that it could pass away as a more modern car.
What year was the one you were in? Do you know?
I don't know, actually, no. I literally picked up the keys and jumped in.
I just hopped in.
Didn't ask too many questions.
Certainly, as Lotus even well before GD bought them over, their quality just went through the roof. Like, it's a much better. Now, don't get me wrong, they still have their issues, but that Toyota supercharged engine is bulletproof. They've got the gear change, should have been pretty sweet in that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
as well, which it was probably the best of the cable shift they've done. Generally the fit and finish and everything else was, they had just nailed it. Probably still had like a Clarion radio in it or something like that.
It did, had the old kind of head unit. Funny, I have read recently, I think it was about a month ago, that some company has now brought out a resto mod, a lease, and it's all modernised inside and LED headlights and all the extra works. And I think Evo test drove it, and
yes,
they thought it was amazing.
They did, yeah. But big money, I think it was over 100 grand, wasn't it, to do the resto. Yeah, but
so there's a couple of photos. The one there, I'll stick them up in the show notes.
The one you were in was in red, and it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
And there's a guy in RMS who has just got a red Series 2 as well, Elise, and just a wonderful thing. Like, if I decided, you know what, I can't afford to keep the Amira or something like that, perfectly possible will happen. I would love an Elise,
and they're not crazy money, for one of the Westers powered ones. Like, imagine if you wanted a fun car flow again, something kind of breakable, so to speak, that you can tinker at. They're a really good choice.
Yeah, the price of them was weird. Like, it's sort of, all of them are between like 20 and 35 grand for any, like a 25-year-old one in really good condition will be nearly as much as a 5-year-old one.
Wow.
Just because, and they're just super sought after now that they're all gone.
Doesn't Nick of the forum, he has a Honda engine in his one, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a
K20.
K20, yeah. So
it's a sharp wee car.
Yeah,
yeah. And do you know something? Because do you remember he every now and then, like, you would put up photographs and when he takes some travels, like, he's been all over the place in his.
Yeah, it's seen some action. I've been around Mondello with him actually in his back when it was running his the K series.
Yeah,
before it had the conversion. Yeah, but that's it. There's quite a few people when I would go to track days and they would come in a S2 Exige or something like that, and how long have you had this? And most people here, I've had it for 2 years, 3 years, and like, I've had it 17 years. That's the sort of they're a car you can keep for life, and they are quite diminutive. You can fit them in a small garage. They don't cost much to run. They're cheap to service and all the rest.
They don't have a big footprint, like in any shape or form.
No, like, and they're very easy on consumables. A lot of the old stuff's all Vauxhall parts and bits and pieces too.
Was there an American company took the Elise platform and put some big stupid engine in it again?
That was Hennessy, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was.
Built one of the fastest cars you can buy.
Yeah.
I think Hennessy Viper or Venom or something.
I can't even remember, but I just remember it was one of the American companies basically took the...
they stretched it. It was Shelby, I think, built it.
Okay.
I know your guy sings in Aerosmith has one. You always see photos of him.
Shane Tyler.
Yeah.
So I think that's they're probably destroying what a good Lotus really is, to be honest. Well, I absolutely love them. So, but you get a run on Exige, supercharged Exiges like I had was, they're just.
I do love the look of Exige even more than the Elise, although I've never been in one, but can only imagine it's every bit as good.
It's an absolute crying shame that you weren't out in because you're out in my GT4, but you weren't out in the
blue Exige.
Exige, and it was
fantastic looking car. Just remember, thinking, it's really, really lovely.
Yeah. Or like with the roof off, with unique. The red leather and all, that was very striking. Beautiful. Yeah. But awesome. Well, look, that's what we should be talking about first. Peeling off the Lotus virginity. Have you driven a
Yeah, there was a cousin of mine, Niall from Scotland, and he came over and just decided...
You need WD-40 to fit into one, to be honest.
I was a wee bit... Look, I'm carrying a wee bit of Dubai weight right now. So, but yeah, so he took his over from Scotland and like loaded up him and our cousin Michelle. They came over with all their luggage, everything else, and I don't know where they cramped it into it, but he came over for like a month at a time, and then he and I had... what did I have at the time? Did I have the MR? It might have been the MR2 I had at the time, but we went out in them and he drove the MR2 and I drove the Lotus back, and it was just like, holy shit, because it was at that stage when we were living further back up the road home and driving up over the Spelga, up over the S of Spelga and that there, and it was just like, holy shit, what a car this is. It was just again, it's one of those ones that you just remember driving because they're not the fastest car,
No.
But how they put everything together in the package that literally is point and shoot.
And how connected you feel when you're on it.
Connected, that's the word I was looking for. You just feel like you're part of the car, and it's just following every tiny wee
camber in the road and all
everything.
the rest.
Yeah, so a phenomenal car.
Yeah, they are.
Well, their reputation precedes them, and being out in that one actually kind of got me thinking. Then, like, what other cars have I not been in that I really should have been in?
Yeah,
as a car nut, and as anyone else who's car nuts, I'm sure that you've got a short list of things you'd love to try, or at least get out for an hour someday in it.
Yeah, look, it's also a lesson in how modern cars have got so fat and overweight and all the rest. Whereas, like, part of the enjoyment of something like an Elise is the constraint. You only have so much horsepower, but you don't have all your toys. You don't have all your driver aids. You don't have, nor do you need climate control or adaptive cruise control or any of that crap. You just need
it's
manual
like a huge
gearbox,
kind of padded safety net around you all the time. When you take it off, it's just amazing the kind of sensations that you get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like taking off the big baggy tracksuit and putting a negligee on.
Well,
don't know what sort of chicks you've been out with.
It's a usual Tuesday night for Andy.
It's the way we Lotus owners roll. Do you know what I mean? So that's wonderful, Ross. So apart from that is a good point to pick up. Is there any other cars that someone's handed the keys off and you've come back and went, that was mind blowing? Now, I mentioned earlier on, for me, it was driving that SF90. Mm-hmm. That was totally recalibrated at what I thought a car could do. And like that, either you've owned or been out in, or
So again, one of my first jobs after I left school. So my mates all went up to university, and university wasn't for me. I got a job at Sea-Truck Ferries in Warrenpoint, and I loved it because that was the time of the real boom of the Jap cars coming in. So we were taking in cars from England that were being sold over here all the time. And that was really back to late 90s, early 2000s. So that was when, like, the Subaru Imprezas, the P1s, the STIs, things like that were coming in. And I can remember one of the guys who had bought one of the cars, and I can't even remember what model it was. It was a two-door Impreza, the classic shape one, but it had like this active diff controller in it. And
so from like a Japanese import STI, Japanese Type import, RA or some random name.
Whatever it was, and bit of tuning, nice set of brakes on it, properly set up. I remember it was like the air scoop in the roof and stuff. It was such a cool looking car. So it was, and the flat four burble, just everything was amazing about it. But where Sea-Truck Ferries is in Warrenpoint, there's the big roundabout at Narrowwater Castle. It takes you up to Morgan Cars, up those back roads, up around Burn and stuff like that there. And he took me up those roads. It was a lorry driver, Jim, and it was just, he was driving like he was on a stage. And I had never been in a car that, like, the car I owned at that time was Vauxhall Astra G. It was fucking, 75 horsepower of madness, 1.6.
A weapon.
Had this big wing. Do you know something? I'll send you photographs of it because I found it not that long ago and stuck it up on Instagram, and people were pissing themselves at it.
Well, get this in the thread on the forum after the show. Yeah.
But Evo 6 bonnet vent cut into it, this DTM wing. She was the rod, so it was. Yeah. But Jim took me out in this Impreza, and I had never been in something that handled like it, that gripped the road at it. And then after he took me out and like literally showed me what the car could do, then we went in, he flicked the yaw controller, the diff control back, and was doing four-wheel donuts in Sea-Truck's big yard. And it was just, that's when my sort of love for classic Imprezas fell in. And it was just so yeah, there's been a few cars I've never been lucky enough to own, but cars that, again, go back to what you were saying just there, like when you take away the safety roll cage, when you take away the safety net of launch control, of ABS, of everything else, when you dial it back to what a car could do, that was maybe only 320, 330 horsepower, which, modern 335 diesels have got more horsepower on paper than that there.
Yeah.
But when it's a car that could use what it had better than those modern cars can do the same thing. That's why, and I know that as we're probably all getting older, we're looking back at things with the rose tinted glasses, but I think that we were really, really lucky to have grown up and experienced the cars in our day that, the max power cruises, the stuff like that there that was happening, the Cumber Raceways, the Cumber 500s, the stuff that we got to experience when cars, in my opinion, were cars. Like, don't get me wrong, like, we'll go back to the drag day at Bishopscourt. Like, we both saw that day about how easy it is for some of those other cars. When you look at the M5s, when you look at the Porsche 911s, things with launch control that you literally don't have to do anything other than 1 foot in the brake, 1 foot in the accelerator, and it's literally who can watch a clock faster. Yes, it's awesome. Yes, it's amazing. But when you take it back a wee bit to when things were manually controlled, when you were having to use a wee bit of your throttle input, when you're diffing a car around a corner, when it's not doing everything for you. So yeah, some of my
That's
things
nothing to do with the GR Yaris.
Nothing to do with the GR Yaris.
Absolutely,
absolutely not.
Ass whipping an E46 M3.
No, definitely not. But yeah, that so a classic Impreza for me was a car that I would love to have owned, just because of what they were able to do. So
but what about if something that you've been handed the keys for and you've driven and it's just totally shocked you, like that, like really that you weren't expecting to be impressed in? Gary, you've driven loads of stuff.
Yeah.
So the Elisa's obviously impressed you.
That impressed me, yeah. There was a lot of stuff, probably, I'd say, in the late teens, early 20s. You were around that period when, you had Causies out and E36 M3s, and stepping into one of them, have never driven anything quicker than maybe a 1.4 Civic.
Yeah.
Suddenly felt like a rocket, even though nowadays, they're not really fast at all compared to modern cars. In recent years, the R35 GTR blew me away, although I wouldn't say it was unexpected, because the reviews were speaking for themselves at the time. But I drove one of them about a year after they came out, and even kind of knowing that this is going to be a quick car, it just recalibrated for me how fast cars can accelerate and the grip and everything else. After that, it's hard to know. I would say actually that run you took me in the Tesla Performance, Tesla S Performance.
Oh yeah,
like that really
Model 3, yeah.
Free my mind on the loop.
Yeah,
how quick an EV car can accelerate at, with no drama, no noise.
Yeah,
just pin you to the seat. And hadn't been on a petrol car that's done that in the same way.
No,
yeah.
Big Pete, when he threw me the keys of his Tesla as well, and I was trying to think about something back in the day, but I'm with Gary. There's nothing I've ever driven. And again, like my father-in-law, he used to have one of the W12 Bentleys, and again, phenomenal performance, the sound, everything else. But I've never, ever driven anything myself that shocked me in the way that Tesla did, of Pete's that Model 3 performance. And it was that initial acceleration. I don't know what internal combustion car could give you the same. I said, I've been out in Warren's McLarens before, and they were warp speed fast. But your first experience of a Tesla launching, that 0 to 60 in 3.5 or 4 seconds.
Funny enough, you mentioned Warren. I remember driving his M4, his white M4,
yeah,
just
white
after,
M4.
And it was just, was it 2013, 2014, just when they had launched it. And I remember I was like, how can the BMW went from the E92 V8 small motor 4 litre to this? The new car is so much quicker. Like, I'm hugely impressed by the and it's still a fast car today.
Oh yeah,
like don't get me wrong.
The problem now is hatchbacks are 350 horsepower, and we're all sitting at this table. We've probably all had daily drivers that are between 400 and 500 horsepower. So the bar is set very high now for stuff that'll actually really blow you away in terms of performance. It needs to be up around 800-900 horsepower probably to scare you. And there's a very small kind of selection of cars that'll do that. So I think in recent years, I haven't been shocked by anything other than, as I say, the unexpected shock of an electric car like a Tesla doing what it can do.
Do you know what unexpected one I had recently enough? Driving Renault's S2000. I've never driven. I think we did speak about it on a previous podcast, but I've never driven something with a gearbox that just worked so like intuitively as that there. Like it's not just the short shift. It wasn't just the VTEC. It was just, again, a combination of everything, because an S2000 isn't the fastest thing in the world by any stretch of imagination, but there was just something about the drive of it where you could really feel the back wheels pushing you, you could feel the VTEC working, you could feel
It's perfect positioned. The gearbox,
Everything,
the tunnel's
just-
a little bit high in
yeah.
your hands. Just
Yeah.
sits
Just
right
where
on.
it was sitting, there was just something, and I got out of it and going, what a fucking splendid car.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Like me and we both had ones at various stages. And something I've often wondered now, I think back to when they came out, the reviews were not amazing, but anyone who's owned one seems to have loved them. You know, and you look back on them, and I've driven a couple actually in recent years and been very impressed with them. And I always wonder why they didn't go down better. You know, the Boxster was always favoured.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my wife drove one for about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it.
Fantastic engine.
Yeah, and that was great. We both really enjoyed it.
Forged, doesn't it? And reprinted and all that there, I think.
Yeah. So, although, as you said, I didn't think it was that outright fast, really.
Yeah.
But just as something just for enjoyment, with the top
Something you
down,
could just pull
high
the roof
rev,
down.
high revving, and
I always thought the
LED
car
screen
just
and-
needs a supercharger. And it would just keep the engine kind of delivery the same, but give you that bit of power that you need for it.
So speaking of supercharged and things that surprised me, one of the most surprising things, and I maybe touched on the podcast before, was when Pablo on the forum, he had a VX220 and was able to drive it before and after he supercharged it in his own garage.
He done it in the driveway, didn't he?
Done the driveway. And
Pablo does everything in the driveway.
Yeah, mightily impressed. Just because, to be honest, sometimes now it's different now with just plug-in tuning. But back in the day when it was, building engines and all the rest, sometimes tune stuff could be a real disappointment. So I said, "Oh yeah, mate, that's 400 brake," and then you drive it. Is it real? It's a bit disappointing, whereas that was a real step change.
Remember the Max Power articles, and there used to be a guy for Corsa with a K&N filter, and then at the end they had to estimate their horsepower. They'd always put it in a little box at the end of the article, a big 400 horsepower, not the 60 in 2 seconds.
Exactly. So stuff like that. There, just sort of nowadays though, like I think the plug-in map for my C63 gets you an extra 130 horse, 120 horse or something. You get 600 horse straight away,
isn't it?
which is just
you can literally
nonsense.
download a stage 1 kind of map and just put it on within half an hour. There you
Yep.
go. So easy.
Talking about Max Power, funny it flashed up. There was Max Power done a reunion show this weekend over in England, and it looked amazing. So it did. Like Peugeot Corse had like 7-8 of their old fleet all down at it. Charisma had cars at it. There was ex-Readers cars at it. I think we keep talking about it. I think there is a revival coming along.
I bet they weren't interviewing girls the same way as they used to.
I think there's a few of them, but
You can get sued for all that.
It just looks phenomenal. So I think they're planning a reunion for next year already, and they're getting more and more, even of the foreign companies who used to display them. They've reached out to them, and there's still a lot of people going. So that's absolutely a show I'm going to try and get over to next year, because it's just
that's hilarious.
Time for Rocco to come out of retirement.
with the flip painted. Remember Rocco's the
The
triangles
banker
up
scene back in the
focus.
Up his focus, yeah. What was it? The Max Power Astra was rolled out recently with the new M2.
Yeah.
So the new M2 is getting a hard time because of its body kit that looks like it's something from the mid '90s Max Power
It's
era.
not the best looking car BMW I've ever made, and that's saying something in recent times.
Awful looking.
It's awful, but is it justified? Because apparently it's a brilliant driver's car. It's the only M car you can buy now, which is manual. So
Manual.
earlier on, you can't buy
That's
an
true.
buy an M4 manual or an M3 manual. You can buy the M2 in manual. It's going to be the last one, but it is grim looking. The M2
Chris
40i
Harris-
is much nicer.
Yeah, he had put up a thing saying, keep hitting haters, but I hate to say this is one of the best driving cars he's ever driven.
Wow.
And it's coming from him. You can take it that he's not saying it to curry favour with him.
I suppose it's like the FK2 Civic Type R. Is it the FK2? FK8?
FK8
get mixed up.
was the sort of 2016 to
The most recent
2021.
one, not the brand new one, but the one before it. But yeah, like people are slating it for its looks, but that's a car we both probably want to try and keep reading reviews, and they're saying as hot hatches go, it's just absolutely amazing.
I nearly and ended up with a C63, but you knew it was on my short list. I was looking at the FK. I actually couldn't get my Ars Indian FK8 to drive on.
Yeah.
I know it's a big thing at the moment just to go and wing it and buy something never driven one before, which is actually what I did with the C63. I had never driven one before, just I fancy it. And it has taken me a while to warm to it. And now I'm like, this is a dear thing to run.
This could be the one.
But the warmth factor is continually warming, because I know when I close the laptop down here and go out and press the start button, we'll all smile like three idiots. Go, you know, because it's just ridiculous.
And then we'll laugh as your petrol hand drops.
Exactly, exactly. I know, but sure, it's all part of the crack.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to pull this into the pits of Bishop's Court here for the Supercar event, and I think we must get a guest on. We have a couple of guests hopefully lined up for the next show. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe and do all that sort of stuff on whatever social media platform has been renamed. And remember, there's no warranty. This was sold as seen.